almost the end of August. It is the beginning of the new school year and I am so excited about it. I wanted to go back and react to my 18 books I want to read in 2022 video that I posted last year and just kind of see if I've been reading what I wanted to read, if the books that I did read are actually any good, and talk a little bit about my reading goals for the fall. I am going back to university. I've got a full course load, so I know my reading is going to change pretty significantly. I won't be reading nearly as much physical books. Also, on that note, if you have audiobook recommendations, please let me know. Send me a message on Instagram or put them in the comments because I need audiobooks. Your girl has to commute again. It's been a while, like 2 years. So give me your audiobooks, please. Grab yourself a snack and let's bring on the books. Welcome back to my channel. It's Bells. We are back from Christmas vacation and I am so excited. This is my giant 2022 TBR. I love how you can see my pajama pants that I'm wearing at the very bottom. Iconic. Also, I miss this purple hair. I love the blue and I'm sticking with the blue for a while because it really feels like it suits me, but the purple is cute. The first book that I really would love to get to this year is A Little Life by Hanya Yamada. Oh my fucking god. How is that the first book on this fucking list? This is the worst book I've ever read. I will not discount that it is written absolutely gorgeously. I can't believe I read the whole thing and I don't really want to go into it on this video, but I just really don't recommend that book in any capacity. I don't want a single person to read it. I actually think it's kind of dangerous in the way that it presents people with mental illnesses and disabled people. So I can't believe that's the first one on this fucking video. The next book I want to get to is Comfort Me with Apple. This book was so good. The next book that I want to read is The Priory of the Orange Tree. Also a fucking banger. Oh man. I like to read about women. Same. Did I really just say same to myself? We're just gonna pretend that didn't happen. I don't know why I haven't read this yet, but I wanted to read White Ivy by Susie Yang for forever. That book is really good. I really like anti-hero stories and I love when the anti-hero is a woman and it's not just because she's sexual or because she's evil or because she's a bitch or whatever. The tropes that we have about evil women. It was really complicated and I really enjoyed the complexity of it, even if it wasn't a book that was 100% for me. I thought it was really well done. The next book I really want to get to is Cloud Cuckoo Land. Oh, I forgot about this book. From what I remember about what it's about, it's basically a fantasy story about libraries. And if you guys know anything about me, it's that I love the library. That's still true. So the next book that I want to read that's kind of in this category is Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zoner. Oh. Yeah, I read this one too. It was great. It was really sad, but really well done. For the most part, I have good taste so far. This is all going fairly well. Then the last book that I want to read that's in this fiction category, Detransition Baby by Tori Peters. I literally bought it because I was I'm gonna read it if I buy it. Yeah, that's never true. If you watched my bookshelf tour last week, most of it is unread books because I buy it and then I forget about it. I actually put this on my TBR for June. Didn't read it. Didn't get to it. Next book that I definitely want to read is The Bride Test by Helen Huang. Oh, I still haven't gotten to this one, which is the second in her Kiss Quotient trilogy. It follows Kai from the first book, and I just loved the first book so much. This is absolutely the best romance I've ever read in my entire life. And then the Wheel of Time Amazon series just came out, and everyone's mad about it. No one thinks it's any good. But what I did learn is that Robert Jordan, who wrote the Wheel of Time fantasy series, is kind of along the same lines. If you like Brandon Sanderson, you'll also like Robert Jordan, especially because they did the last 3 novels of this series together. So there's 14 hefty boys. I bought the first one and it's getting shipped to me right now. I am so excited to read it. So spoiler alert, I haven't touched this book because it is I don't know, it's a brick. It's 1,200 pages of some dense writing and I am excited to read it, mostly because I've learned so much more about it and the context and the characters and how everything is woven together, and I'm so curious to experience that for myself. But then I mentioned earlier that I am trying to read Stephen King's books because I really like his writing. Oh man, really like his writing. Well, I'm a fucking liar. I don't know what Stephen King books I'm about to talk about. I think one of them is probably Misery, but I have tried out a couple of Stephen King books this year and they have all severely disappointed me. We're gonna talk about him again a little bit later, so I'll just watch this. The first one I want to read that's already on hold for me in the library is Misery. It was Misery. This is about a novelist who gets rescued by his like biggest fan. The next one, my dad actually recommended as my next Stephen King book to read, and that would be The Stand. Did he? Did my dad do that to me? Dad. The Stand was my least favorite reading experience I've ever had until A Little Life. So we'll start with the classics. The first one that I've been like really excited to read for a while is The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky.
I haven't gotten to this.
I just like, I'm not really in the mood for super dense content in that way, as I just finished like an 800-page fantasy. I'm just not interested in like reading classics right now, especially because I'm just about to go to the fucking English school and all of the literature I'm going to be reading is from the 1700s anyways. Russian literature is just like not my vibe right now, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I have not picked that up. I don't expect to pick that up in the next 4 months. It literally says on the Goodreads thing, erotic rivalry in a series of triangular love affairs. I'm so glad I got better at editing. The next one I really want to get to is The Picture of Dorian Gray. Okay, I was gonna read this in June and then A Little Life ruined my life, and so I didn't get to this. I am taking a queer writing class this semester. I presume this book is going to show up in the semester, so like I'm not worried about it. I'm gonna read it, I promise. I'm very excited about it. I really want to read Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice again. Okay, so in my defense, I haven't read this yet. I am still excited to read it. I very much want to read it. But I got distracted reading The Witching Hour because I discovered that Alexandra Daddario is playing the main character in The Witching Hour in a show that's coming out in September, I think. I didn't know Anne Rice had a series about witches, and so I had to read that first. I really do still want to read this. This was like my introduction to horror when I was like 12 years old and hiding horror books from my parents. My last classic that I again want to reread is I'd like to read Little Women. Oh yeah. So in my prep for this video, I actually considered adding that to my list because I do really still want to read this again. I loved it as a kid. I just haven't gotten around to it. I just, like I said, I just haven't been super in the mood for classics recently. I also want to get to The Master and Margarita The Master and Margarita by Mikhail. Isn't this about like the devil and a cat? Which is about a cat and the devil. That's it. That's why I want to get to it. Doesn't that sound like fun? It does sound like fun. All of these books I want to read ideally soon, but I can't read 17 books all at once. I mean, I could try. The first nonfiction book that I really want to get to is What's Your Pronoun? Beyond He and She by Dennis Barron. Oh, I haven't read this yet. Oh, I should get that from the library. My last book on this list, 17 books is a lot to talk about, is actually a book about Toronto. Oh, is this Missing from the Village? With Missing from the Village. Yeah, this book was so good. I don't read a lot of true crime, mostly because I don't like the sensationalism of it, but this was so solid. I really enjoyed it, and it was really weird to like walk down streets that they are like talking about. It's so funny to watch videos even from just like 6 months ago. I feel like I've grown so much as like a video content creator. It's so cool to watch. Let's talk about some actual fall reading plans. We'll talk about new releases first, since I'm bad at new releases, but I do actually have a few that I want to read. I have Kaikeyi by Vaishnavi Patel. This is the retelling of the story of Queen Kaikeyi from the Indian epic Ramayana, which we've talked about in one of my tarot TBR videos. This was on my TBR for August. I don't know if I'm going to get to it in August. I've just been like continuing series that I've been reading. I haven't been super consistent about reading the books on my TBR. I think I've only read 2 from that video, and I'm like halfway through a couple of other ones. I want to give this the time it deserves, and I'm just like not super focused on it. I'm just like interested in these other stories that I've been reading. So that is one I absolutely want to read soon. Maybe that will be September. I've also got Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Su Lin Tan. This is about Xing Yin, who lives on the moon with her mother. They're in exile, but she doesn't know that. And then she basically has to leave to go train in magic because her like magic flares. I think it's a retelling of the story of Kaguya, which is super cool. Again, we love our retelling of fairy tales over in this corner of YouTube. And I've heard really beautiful things, and honestly, it's such a gorgeous book. Of course, I've got The Hacienda by Isabel Cañas. This is a combination between Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier and Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia, which are two of my favorite horrors ever. It's a Gothic haunted house story that's going to be in October for sure. Hands down, it's a perfect spooky read. And then I also have What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher, which is another spooky Gothic about a retired soldier who's helping out his ailing friend in a haunted house. I've been talking about this podcast that I've been listening to recently, and T. Kingfisher came on, and they were so lovely to listen to. I have heard nothing but amazing things about this book. Okay, I said we were going to talk about Stephen King again. We're going to talk about Stephen King again. I keep trying to recreate the experience I had with The Shining. The Shining is one of my favorite books that I've ever read. I have never been so engrossed in a story, so enraptured, so spooked. It was so well done, but all of his older books that I've been trying that everyone says are their favorites, I just don't connect with. They're either like Misery, which was written in like a thriller structure, which I just don't enjoy, or it's like The Stand, where all of the women are like baby machines and the story doesn't start until like page 460. I just haven't really enjoyed a lot of his books. But he's coming out with a new one this year called Fairy Tale. And this is a portal fantasy complete with like princesses and dungeons. I love fantasy. And I like dark fantasy. Like, I enjoy the darkness of Stephen King. I just don't like his characters. I would like to read this to continue to give him a shot. I just think I need to stop reading his older books. Hopefully, a lot of the issues that I have with his older stuff won't be as present in newer stuff because we have different expectations for authors now, today, in 2022 than we did in like 1980. That's how I feel. We're gonna try out Fairy Tale. Maybe it'll do something for me. And then the last new release that I am excited about is Nona the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. So that is the third in the Locked Tomb series. The first one, Gideon the Ninth, I read earlier this year, a couple months ago, and it was so freaking chaotic. It was so much fun. I haven't read the second one, which is Harrow the Ninth, and I would like to. It's about necromancers in space. I mean, hello? Amazing. Even though they're incredibly dark and quite gory, they're also very silly and very fun and just like absolutely chaotic, and I really enjoyed that chaos, so I think that is a series I'd like to continue. On that note, we'll go into talking about series that I want to continue that aren't new releases. So I am currently reading the Realm of the Elderlings trilogy by Robin Hobb, which I know everyone on planet Earth is like, oh my god, she's amazing. Well, she's amazing. She is. She's amazing. I just finished Assassin's Quest, and like, not trying to spoil my own summer wrap-up, but like, is that trilogy my new favorite fantasy trilogy? Did it beat out Mistborn? I don't know. Watch the video and find out. The next trilogy in her 16 book, I think, series is the Live Ship trilogy. This one does not follow Fitz. This one is like in third person and follows a bunch of characters throughout the realm in like a different place on the map. That's a series I'm definitely going to continue. I already have it on hold at the library. I also want to continue Josiah Bancroft's Books of Babel series. Babel? Books of Babel. It might be Babel. I don't know. Someone tell me how you pronounce that. So the second one, I actually just picked up. Arm of the Sphinx. This story is about Senlin, who's like a very unlikely fantasy hero who has to like find his wife in the gritty political maze that is the Tower of Babel. It's a super unique fantasy. I loved the first book. It was so fun. I definitely want to continue reading that, and I picked up the second one, so hopefully I will actually do that. The next one is not a series, but Hex by Thomas Old Huvelt? Oh man, oh, it's bad. We're pretending, never mind. This is a horror that came out a couple years ago about a town that is haunted by the Black Rock Witch. And I am specifically really excited about this book because I know that he wanted to tell a witch horror story where it's not just about like an angry evil woman killing people, but actually has like some substance to it that isn't inherently misogynistic. So that's a book that I'm really excited about, just to see if he actually accomplished his goal. I've heard really good things about it. And then of course, I'd love to read a couple books that I actually own. Picture of Dorian Gray is on the top of this list. I own the book. I bought the book because I knew I would like the book. I'd like to read this freaking book. So here's hoping I read it in class. And it like kills two birds with one stone, you know? The other book that I would really like to read, which I actually like just picked up, but I picked it up because I really want to read it, and that is Sorrowland by Rivers Solomon. Rivers Solomon wrote one of the best books I've read so far this year, which was The Deep. And so Sorrowland, it's a gothic fiction, and like, y'all know me in gothics, about a pregnant woman escaping from a religious compound, cult kind of deal, and then she goes through some like magical changes of some kind to protect herself and her baby, which is a similar theme to The Deep, which is about like babies inside of women's wombs evolving to survive underwater. I just loved her writing. I thought it was fantastic, and so I am really excited to read this. I like stories about cults. I like religious commentary. That's what happens when you grow up Christian and don't like organized religion. Those are my fall reading plans. A lot of these are going to be read as audiobooks. Again, please give me some audiobook recommendations. I'd love to know like your favorite narrators, what really works for you when you read audiobooks, etc. I'm always interested to hear what you guys thought. If you've read any of these books, let me know if you think I would like them, or if you like them, or if we're gonna read the same books together, or whatever. Also, if you've watched all the way to the end, here is a secret spoiler for you. I'm going to be launching a readathon for November. I'm calling it the Reading Week Readathon, which I thought was very clever. Stay tuned for that announcement. If you want to like contribute to ideas or something, just like send me a message on Instagram and maybe we can talk about it. I'd love to have support and like see what you guys would like to do for prompts and things like that. I think it'll probably be like the second week of November. Hit me up. Let's talk about some books. If you haven't watched my bookshelf tour, which I just put up last week, that'll be right here. And next week is going to be my tarot TBR for September. So stay tuned, stick around, hit the notification bell. Thank you so much for being here. I love you all so much. I'll see you all next week. Bye.